I'll call this one a quick hitter this morning. I've been listening to some of the debate from last night, some of the replay of it, and I know that there are people out there who say that it was, well, not inconsequential, but nobody really scored any great victory. If you're a Republican, you were happy with Mike Pence. If you're a communist, I mean a liberal, you're happy with the way Kamala Harris performed. But there was one thing that did stick out in my mind this morning, probably more than anything else. Well, two, there's a loaded question from Susan Page where she said, the economy is not moving along now as fast as it was, Mr. Pence. What are you guys going to do? Except that was debunked the other day by the Wall Street Journal editorial board, which pointed out that because you had some census workers who were laid off, and that was going to happen, that slowed some of the growth in the economy. But in any other standard month, the growth we saw in jobs in September was actually spectacular. But once again, Republicans are up against not only the Democrat, but against the moderator in these debates. And that's all baked into the cake at this point. One other thing, though, that I happened to hear, and this comment came from Harris at some point during the debate. You may have heard it too. She's talking about how they're going to cancel the tax cut that President Trump managed to get passed. And she says, when it's done, there are going to be a lot of things out there that won't cost you anything.
So, for example, for folks who want to go to a 2-year community college, it will be free. If you come from a family that makes less than $125,000, you'll go to a public university for free. And across the board, we'll make sure that if you have student loan debt, it's cut by $10,000.
Free. If free is so good, how come we don't have more of it? I think that's a good question to ask. Why is it free? Who gets it free? You mean there's no strings attached? Somebody somewhere obviously has to be paying for it because we know there is nothing that happens to be free. When I was a little boy, my dad's best friend had moved to California and was working as an airline mechanic, and he was trying to convince my dad to move out west. And this was 1969. I guess I was in the first grade. My parents actually, for a time, put a for sale sign in the front yard. Eventually, there was a decision made, and we didn't go. Who knows? Probably in the long run, it was the best decision that they made in their lifetimes. Uh, they didn't make many, but it might have been the best they made. And I remember, though, my mother telling me when I got a little bit older that she said, well, if we had gone, she said, you kids could have gone to college for free. But there you go again. There was this notion that in some of these states, they were just passing this stuff out like candy. And gee, other states aren't doing it. Why not? Even my mother, who was a conservative Republican, had learned to phrase things that way because that's how the left and its handmaidens, could use that term, in the media managed to frame it. And so that's how people would refer to it in conversation, whether it be in diners or in their own homes. A couple of other notes quickly, if I could. I'm wearing a hat this morning that is not related to any professional sports franchise or even college franchise. And I'm a little disappointed still that I can't wear them until they stop being such horses patooties. I guess I'm not going to be wearing them unless my head gets really cold and I've got a really bad case of a bedhead. I put a hat on today, though, that actually is Friend's business. It's called Western Visions. And his name is Russell Smith. Russ has a business where they actually do some renovations, but they're high-end renovations. And they also build high-end homes. They even build ranch houses and will put in the horse stable and put in the pasture, if you like. They do all of these things. He used to run the business out of Missoula, Montana. He has moved most of it anyway, lock, stock, and barrel, to Twin Falls, Idaho, because he says, I got sick and tired of living in Missoula because the place had become so gold-dang liberal. And he said, I couldn't go out even to a local mixer with the Chamber of Commerce without putting up with people making fun of my Christianity or the fact that I'm a conservative Republican. So it cost them. He picked up his business and he moved it away to another state, which shows you how liberal policies can have an overall impact on business, even at the local level. One other quick note about neighboring Montana. The last couple of days when I've been turning on my computer, I've been getting commercials, that is advertisements for the Republican. He is running for U.S. Senate against Steve Daines, the Republican. Did I say the Democrat? The Democrat is running against Steve Daines, who's the incumbent Republican in the seat. Steve Bullock, who happens to be, I think that's his name, he happens to be the Democrat governor of the state, and he now thinks he should go to Washington. But I'm getting commercials that are aimed at convincing you not to vote for Daines. But it's kind of odd. I live in Idaho, and I'm not voting in that particular election. So somebody's algorithms are somehow screwed up. If I did live there, I'd be voting for Daines. And it says in one of the ads that I saw this morning, Daines drove business out of Montana. but it was actually the liberals, as I just told you, who did it in this one specific case. And when you talk about, in fact, it's saying he drove out manufacturing. Folks, there's not a whole heck of a lot of manufacturing in Montana. There never was. One of the big industries there was mining. That was killed by a lot of policies from liberals, but it's actually on the rebound. I was in a small mining town a couple of years ago, and there's a big mural painted in the downtown area about the mines being reopened and just how good it is for the local economy. That's because of Republicans. Keep that in mind. If you like our videos, click on the subscribe button at the top of the page. Also, if there's any comments or questions or something you'd like us to address, feel free to comment about that in that section at the bottom.